ladies, welcome back to Demystifying Men with yours truly, Rachel Davis. All right, ladies, welcome to this week's episode of Demystifying Men with yours truly, Rachel Davis. I'm super excited for the guest that we have today, none other than our very own Mr. Brandon Holt. Now, if you've been watching the episodes week after week up until this point, you know the theme that we're talking about this season, and it's about kingship. It's about men who have achieved king status. And if you read the book Demystifying Men, then ladies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Within every man, there's a lover, there's a magician, there's a warrior, and there's also king. The king is the man who has a healthy balance of all three of those archetypes, in addition to having the leadership component. And when we were scouring the globe to find the most appropriate guests for season 2 for Demystifying Men in specific relation to kingship, Brandon Holt was definitely at the top of the list. So ladies, without further ado, I want to introduce you to our guest for today's show, Mr. Brandon Holt. Brandon, how are you doing today?
Rachel Davis in the house. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. And congratulations on season number 2. I really enjoyed season 1, and it truly is an honor to be here. Everybody watching, so glad to be a part of this.
Awesome. And it's an honor to have you on the show. And I'm super excited for all of the information our viewers are going to glean from you today. And again, thank you for taking the time out. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Excellent. Now, you're a very busy man, and you've got a lot going on, to the point that I had to write everything down in order to not miss any of the accolades or any of the jobs that you have at any given moment, at any point in time of the day. So Brandon, you are a TV show host. You have your own television show. You're a TV show host. You're also a pastor, right? You're an author. You're a licensed counselor. You're also a licensed barber. I got to think about how those things could be. In addition to that, you're a dad. You're also a workout enthusiast. And we now have to add actor to
Listen to you, Rachel.
How do you do it? How do you do it all? How do you do it all and stay sane? Let's start there.
You know, I was taught by a gentleman who's a comedian. His name is Michael Collier. And 15 minutes a day that anyone can give to their craft. And you can break your day apart in segments of 15 or larger. So what I do, I definitely keep a schedule. I keep a calendar, and I allot a certain amount of time to my ministry daily functions, to my counseling function, to my talk show. So that way I'm not trying to do everything at one time, because I was that guy who used to try to do everything, and I started stressing out, started affecting my behavior and my character. And as men, we ride off of our identity. Like when we get together and talk, hey bro, what you do, man? Man, I do this, I do that. And we build our reputation off of what we do. And so I've had to get to a place where I'm not trying to impress anybody, but I'm working intentionally so that way I don't stress out. So how do I do it? I'm still trying to figure it out. But I know so far that's the way I've been working it.
Excellent. Well, you've been doing it very well, and kudos to you for
Thank you.
living. Oh, you're welcome, for living a life of intention, for
Thank
living
you.
a life of purpose on purpose. And for anyone who watches you and who's following you, just like I am, they're able to see that every day. You know, you're definitely you're doing it, and so thank you for taking
Thank you,
the time
Rachel.
out. Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about, out of all the things that I've listed here, TV show, pastor, author, barber, counselor, a dad, that actually should be at the top of the list, dad, right? Actor, workout enthusiast. Out of all of the activities that make up the identity of the man, which one is your favorite and why?
I'm biracial. My mother is white and my father is Black. Growing up, I had a lot of identity issues as far as my race was concerned. When I was around my Black friends, I was always just too light. When I was around my white friends, I was always a shade too dark. So I had trouble fitting in a lot. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know who I was. And my grandfather's a pastor, my uncle's a pastor. I grew up in the church environment. So I leaned into the life of a pastor because I became addicted to approval at a young age, which is common for a lot of people, especially if you lack validation and acceptance in some area. In my case, I lacked validation from my peers. And so, when I got into the ministry at a young age, I had that long zoot suit on for my very first sermon. And when I preached, Rachel, everybody was watching me for that 15 to 20 minute period. I had everybody's attention on me. So I became addicted to the limelight at that time. And then the ladies were coming up to me. I was 14, 15, 16. The girls were coming up and so forth. And so I kind of moved into ministry at a really young age. And I don't think I was really in my purpose. I was more doing it for other reasons. And so to make a long story short, got married, been divorced. I'm divorced now. I was married 14 years, 4 beautiful kids. And if my kids are watching, shout out to everybody watching right now. When I was in California early on and as a pastor, I got in a car accident. And I was the senior pastor at the church, married, young child, car accident, back surgery, got hooked on painkillers. The nurse said, "Are you in pain, Mr. Holt?" Shot me up with morphine. I battled addiction for 4 years. I wasn't in a good place. I used to doctor shop, find them off the streets. The pain was gone, and there was more of a psychological addiction. I was withdrawing. I was sweating night sweats. I was agitated. I wasn't a good guy back then. But the catch is I was preaching at the same time. I was up standing before the church, delivering a message high on painkillers. I had a system in place. I would use painkillers in the morning, the noon, the afternoon, and the evening time, because when the pain pills weren't in my system, the opioids, then my body started rejecting because, people use drugs to feel good, feel better, and do better. And I was at a place where I needed the drugs, the painkillers, to feel normal. Because when I'm standing up in front of a large amount of people, remember my initial issue. See, we all have a core root issue. When you peel the layers back, there's an issue that defines why we act the way we act. Mine was I lacked approval from my peers at a young age. So when I'm up standing before the church, and I'm taking these opioids, I'm doing it because I don't want to break apart in the pulpit. I used to have a white styrofoam cup and I would pour codeine cough syrup in there while I was preaching, and I would have it up on the podium so that if I felt myself falling, I could take a sip while I was up there. I used to put washcloths in my jacket. Because I would sweat profusely and it was cool or cold outside. So I went through that season, ended up losing that job. Family broke up at that time. And then, to this day, fast forward to this day, I've been sober for 15 years now this November, but it took a lot of work to get there. I would stop taking the pills. I would take them again. I would stop, relapse, stop. But I finally got to that place where I wasn't at rock bottom. I was at the rock below the rock. And what was hard was I was a young Black professional man. I had everything going for me. I had a family, I had children, I had a great job. I lived in a great location. And I was battling this deep, dark demon on the inside. And a lot of people today who are professional, everybody's battling something. If you're honest with yourself, you're battling something. It doesn't have to be a substance use disorder. be a caffeine use disorder, shopping, gambling, a sex, issue that you have. Everybody's battling something, but we, especially as Black people, we don't talk about it. We're not transparent because we don't want to lose our place in line. And as we work in corporate America, we want to make sure that we stay up there with everybody else. So we keep it to ourselves. We self-medicate. We're breaking down on the inside. And I've always learned that I try to be very careful. I'm not the best person all the time, but I try to be very careful when I'm standing next to somebody that I treat that person with respect, because that person could be on the verge of a catastrophic breakdown. They could be suicidal. They can be doing all that they can just to hold themselves together. So ended up getting sober. I was able to work through that. I am divorced today. I wrote 2 books. One book right here, the red one, is called Preaching Under the Influence. It's a really good read. Talks about me being biracial, mental health disorders. My substance abuse disorder triggered depression in me to where I took medication. And I still take the medication today. And as an African-American man, I was very embarrassed to even talk about the fact that I take medication for depression to keep me stable. But I'm in a place right now where I don't care what people think about me, because our job in life is to win with people. How do you win with people? By being transparent. And so I take, the medication so that I can keep myself stable at all times. And it's all in the book. And it talks about how I got off the opioids and how it impacted my life. And so I've really been blessed to go on several different talk shows and outlets teaching that. So if you're watching, for everybody watching right now, whatever you're battling with, whatever you're going through right now, it's really, really important that you get that out of your system. Go talk to someone. As African-American people, a lot of times we don't want to invest in self-care, because if I go to counseling or I go to therapy, I'm less than. Right. But listen, self-care saved my life. And when you get to a place where you don't care what people think, hey, you're on the road to recovery and the road to success, because you're only as sick as your secrets. You got to get all of that out. And when I told somebody and said, hey, I'm addicted to painkillers, this was 15 years ago, that's when my life changed, because I no longer had to carry that secret anymore. And so that's what got me into chemical dependency counseling, licensed chemical dependency counselor, because I want to give back. That's me. Now, I never lived on the street. Because people have this mindset that a substance abuser has no teeth, lives on the street, smells a certain way. Well, let me tell you something. I had a substance use disorder and I wore a suit every single day. I was on TV all the time. So when I see my brothers and sisters out there on the streets, I don't look past anybody, because we are all one termination away of being out on the street ourselves. So that's kind of my story. I know I went the long way around.
No, that's
fine. How I got to where I am today. That's
fine. And you said so much. There's so much to unpack in what you said in terms of in terms of what you shared as far as your book. And before we conclude, I want you to share with our viewers exactly where they can go to get a copy of your book, both of your books as well. But you were a preacher in the pulpit, utilizing opioids to function because of the dependency and the addiction. At that point in time, as far as your congregation members are concerned, was anyone aware of what you were struggling with? Yeah.
I got you. Remember back in the day when we had to go to the portrait studio and take pictures with the family at and the photographer was like, turn your head this way, turn your head that way. Mm-hmm. And we thought we were okay, but the photographer could see what we could not see. Mm-hmm. There's a saying, when you think you're looking good, you're really looking bad. I was functioning. I was trying to cover it up. I was trying to act as if there was no issue, but there were people who could see things that I could not see. And that's the definition of addiction. Mm-hmm. Using despite the consequences, which is the result of the use, manifested through inappropriate compulsive behavior. So the reason people could tell something was wrong with me is because I was manifesting different behaviors. I was manifesting things that were inappropriate, and I didn't care what the ramifications or the consequences were. And so that's when I look back on it today. Had I known then what I know today, I'm sure everybody knew that this guy is thrown off. Something is wrong with this guy. And so even to this day, I've apologized to people. If I see them, I'll let them know, hey, however I was 15 years ago, I don't even know how I was, but I'm sorry. Because I was that dude who was doctor shopping, who was up trying to preach to people when I needed to be preached to. I was praying for people, but I needed somebody to pray for me because I was holding on with just a thread. I didn't have anything left in me. I was a spiritual man. I grew up in the church. And I keep going back to this because I was that guy who was in church taking pain pills on the back row after I had already been fired from my church, just hoping that the Lord would not give up on me. I was that guy back there that was saying there has to be something better for me. And so that just taught me the importance of not judging people at all, but seeing people for where they are and bringing them back out.
Oh my gosh. So admirable of you, and just authentic and transparent of you to share
Thank you.
your journey. And you also mentioned that your divorce, did the opioid addiction have anything to do with the demise of your marriage?
When I look back on it today, I think that was the main cause that we never recovered. And I hold myself accountable. See, I didn't ask to get hooked on painkillers.
Right.
I haven't experienced marijuana, just to tell you a little bit about myself. Drinking is not an issue. I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask to get in a car accident and have to take these pills that ruined my life at that time. And so when I look back on it today, I believe that was probably one of the contributing factors that led to where we are. And so I have a lot of, still to this day, I have some guilt and shame and remorse for some of the ways I conducted myself back in the day. And so back to answer your question, I often make general apologies to people like, hey, I don't know what I said back then. I don't know who I was. I don't know what kind of behavior I portrayed, but I just ask that you forgive me. Because everybody, see, the challenge is if you have a substance use disorder, people tend to classify you and they tend to put a label on you. Once an addict, always an addict, different things. And I'm not trying to get clinical, but I want people to know that, you never really recover from an addiction. And we don't use the word addiction today. We use substance use disorder because anything can trigger a relapse. So that's why we have to constantly, we have to maintain healthy schedules every day. I work out every single day, 6 days a week. I eat a strict diet every day to make sure that I stay sound mentally, physically, and spiritually so that I never put myself in a position to have to go back to that lifestyle. There's a saying, aren't you glad you don't look like what you've been through?
Oh,
we've all been through something. We've all been through a traumatic experience that has shaped where we are today. But what you went through, try not to tell war stories. Close the chapter of that page in your life and start a new chapter. Forgive yourself. That's one of the hardest things I had to do was forgive myself for the way that I was. But whoever's watching, man, forgive yourself. Tell yourself it's okay. That was then. This is now. It's time to go forward and live your best life.
Oh my gosh. So many nuggets you've shared. And ladies, I'm sure you can just witness the growth and the transformation. Hence, in terms of where you started and the challenges that you have had to overcome to where you are today, definitely exemplifies the process that men not only have to go through, but grow through in order to reach king status. And you talked about depression, and that is like the biggest taboo word when you think about faith, being a pastor, having the Lord, having faith, having God, having that eternal connection to the Most High, but yet still suffering from depression in the sense that I can see where folks may be a little bit unyielding in terms of their views in regards to being really centered and grounded in your faith, but yet still going through depression. It's almost as though they shouldn't necessarily go together. How do you help people understand that one is independent of the other?
We live in a society where we have to keep up to survive. Everybody has to move up, especially as African American people, just to stay in the room or to move into the next room or to make it up the steps, especially, like in corporate, we have to go above and beyond. So we put a lot of things on our plate so that we make sure we don't fall or drop the ball. But eventually, the more stuff you put on your plate, the more you put on yourself, the more you're going to stress yourself out. And that's where you see a lot of self-medicating, hookah, smoking marijuana, drinking, because we have this label that medication is for crazy people. No, it's not. There's a high percentage of the world who's on a medication. Now, you don't have to tell your business. You say what you want to say. I choose to be transparent because I want somebody to know that it's okay. It's okay to do what you have to do to keep your mental stability and your sanity, because we live in a tough world. And as men, especially men, we lead from the bottom up. We're the foundation of the family. And if you have a crack in your foundation, then the whole family is going to fall. And I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. Right. So it's really important that we invest in self-care. It's okay to see a counselor. It's okay to see a therapist. It's okay to talk to somebody. Use your EAP, employee assistant program at work, and get linked in with somebody who can help you. Because if you don't, it's going to impact the way that you treat people, your character, your manners, your behavior. So you want to make sure you work on yourself from the inside out, because it's not a matter of if you're going to fall. It's a matter of when you're going to fall, because it's only so much. Hey, man, listen to me. Listen, bro. Listen, I don't know who's watching, but I want you to know that there's only so much you can take. You cannot handle. You are not Superman. You are not Batman. Ladies, you are not Catwoman, or you are not Superwoman. You are a human being, and you only get one life. There's 86,400 seconds in a day. None of those seconds roll over to the next day. Whatever seconds you don't use, you're going to lose. So make sure you're intentional with everything. Look at the people who are around you. Are they worsening your mental health? Are they a liability, or are they an asset? And if they're a liability, you have to shrink your circle. Surround yourself with people who want to see you win, who are going to encourage you, and find somebody that you can talk to. 100% transparency that you know is going to cover for you, and that you know is going to help you push to the next level. Because you only get one life. So live your best life. Who cares what people think about you? Who cares? Who cares what people think about you? Listen, 48% of the people don't even know your situation. The other 48% of the people don't care about your situation because they got their own stuff going on. Right. So you got 4% of the people who actually care about what you're doing. Surround yourself with the ones who care about what you're doing, and don't worry about the people who don't know or don't care, because you only have one shot at this life. Live your best life. Smile. Be happy. Do what you go out and have fun. Enjoy life. Right. Everything's not about working and beating yourself down and doing this. And then go out and breathe and find a hobby. Do something fun, fishing, golf, sport. Try something new. I'm a single man. I'm single now. I went through a 2-year healing process after my divorce, Rachel, and I'm better now. I didn't want to rush into anything. I wanted to make sure I was whole before I got in there. But
thank you for getting better. Let me say this on behalf of every single woman or every woman who's dealing with a man who isn't whole, who is broken, and who did not do the work to get better. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that you needed to get better. And thank you for getting the help that you needed to get better, because I talk to countless of women all the time, and majority of the ills that they're experiencing in their relationship has to do with men who just aren't well, who aren't whole, and who have a void. And that void it's a never-ending abyss. And they have unrealistic expectations of women to fill this entire void. That's a never-ending abyss. And women are just downright drained and literally have nothing left as a result of that. So thank you. Let me start off and say thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And also on top of that, I don't know if we're ever better, but we're always getting better. And that's the key. Martin Luther King Jr., if you can't run, if you can't fly, need to run, can't run, need to walk, can't walk, crawl, make sure you're progressing forward. I don't know if I quoted that right, but always make sure that you are progressing forward, because the issue is a lot of times we can become needy in relationships. And when you become needy, you're trying to fill a void, which is validation and acceptance, and you're actually pushing that person away. And I tell all the brothers, man, stay on your purpose, stay on your grind. If you stay on your purpose, that's attracting, that's going to attract her, not push her away. Now, make sure you're not doing things to be manipulative just to get her attention. That's codependency. You're doing things to try to get her to respond. But man, if you stay on your grind and you stay focused, let that person come to you. And I believe as singles, the mistake is sitting back waiting. We say, I'm just going to wait on it. I'm going to wait. I'm going to sit back and wait for that person. No, keep moving forward and meet that person at the intersection. You're going to meet that person out there, but you just have to stay focused and keep moving. And I know that's a whole nother episode, because I have a lot to say on that. So I'm trying not to go too deep.
No, this is wonderful. But I have to be honest with you. I've got to tell you, you're such an interesting guest, because you have so many layers to you. But now you're still a pastor, and you're single, right?
I am.
So.
And I want to say this, and let me say this, since we're coming along this area here.
Yes.
Please do not contact me if you are married, if you are separated, if you are in a complicated situation, if you are in a relationship, or if you're just coming out of something. Now, I know that's in the eyes of the beholder, the time frame of coming out of something, but please don't contact me if you are still connected emotionally, sexually, spiritually, physically to someone of your past. Go handle all of that first before you come over here, because I want all of you. I don't want some of you. I want all of you. And I'm going to ask the question, is there anybody who thinks that they are still in a relationship with you? Anybody? Is there anybody who thinks they're still with you right now? And if that's the case, I'm going to ask that you please go, and because I'm not into quantity anymore. We're young, we walking up in there, Rachel, we got 16, 17, 2, 3, 4 girlfriends. We're doing it.
I remember.
But it's like, as you go through some things, it's about quality. Right. And none of us are perfect, but I want somebody who I can connect to their soul. What kind of soul do you have? What kind of character do you have? Are you for me? If I know you for me, I'm going to be for you. What are you for me? And even in the dating world, and I have to say this, Rachel, if I can, but even in the dating world, if I call you and you see my number come across your phone, or I text you and you see my number come across I'm talking about Rachel. If you see my number come across the phone and you choose not to respond, 7, 8, 9 hours later, the next day, I have to evaluate, is this the type of person I need in my space? Because I'm not going to do you that way. When you reach out to me, out of the 7+ billion people in this world, you took the time to contact me. I'm going to stop within a reasonable time frame, 5, 10, 15, unless I'm on an airplane or I'm incapacitated, I'm going to get back at you. Hey, working, busy, tied up, holler at you later, call you later. But for you to see my number come across your phone and not even respond, you're letting me know where I stand in your life, and I have to 86 that situation, and I have to keep moving on. My point is that find somebody who's for you, who is for. If you have to try to beg somebody to be with you, fellas buying all kind of roses and gifts, and ladies, you overcooking meals to try to win this guy through food, and you're out of character to win someone, whatever you did to get that person, you're going to have to keep doing that to keep. I know, Rachel, I'm off track.
No, this is perfect.
Don't get me started.
No. That whole thing about not, and you were so clear in terms of, if you see my number.
I'm talking if you see my number, Rachel.
See my number. That, you're coming from the perspective of somebody who, that is definitely a challenge that you're experiencing as a dating man who wants to present himself fully and wholly to a woman and demonstrate that I'm not here to play any games. You see, those are the things that happen when you're still trying to play the game, trying to play that cat and mouse chase, trying to create that elusiveness in his mind and not let him know that you're readily available, and to create that air of mystery. And in some cases, that works for certain men, but for men who have achieved the king status, such as yourself, it's not going to fly. If you're intentional in creating space and making time for this person by reaching out to connect, by reaching out to say hello, by reaching out to exchange energies, to give of your time and to receive, and vice versa, the last thing a man who's evolved into his king status is attracted to is the BS mind games. And
the thing,
yeah,
right. And the key is, what do you want? You got to ask yourself that. I'm a big believer in codependency, which is, maybe this is for another episode, continued investment in your own self-esteem to the point of controlling the attitudes and behaviors of another. If I'm doing things, so I've had to master the fallback. Rachel, I've mastered the art of the fallback, meaning if I feel that the interest level is not the same, or I'm doing way more, it's like a cupcake. We're supposed to split that cupcake 50-50. But if I've cut 75% of the cupcake and you only cut 25%, then I have way more invested into this situation and I have a lot more to lose. So if you find yourself, ladies or gentlemen, putting a whole lot of effort trying to win this person, I've learned to just fall back and let the person come to you.
So have you fall back a lot as a single man who's been dating?
Well, Rachel, I haven't really been dating because I've been divorced almost 2 years now, and I wanted to go to counseling and really kind of work on some character issues, because I didn't want to bring the old Brandon into a new situation. I didn't want to bring broken into unknown. I wanted to bring the best version of myself into an unknown situation, because it's all fine and dandy when you're dating. You lovey-dovey, brother opening the door, got the roses, just cooking the smothered pork chops and sweet greens and all that good stuff. But when you jump that broom, it's like, I didn't even know that person existed. So you have to watch out for the representative. There's a lot of representation going on because everybody's on their best behavior, trying to set a good example to that person. They want to show you who they want you to be. So I haven't really dated a lot intentionally. I haven't been exclusive yet because I'm looking forward to it now. I'm in a place where, being exclusive is something that I'm looking forward to, because I'm a relationship kind of guy. So that's where I am. But please make sure Like, my question, is there anybody who thinks they're in a relationship with you? Please address that before you come over here.
Right.
Or before I come to you.
Right. Before they slide into your DMs, right?
They slide in the DMs. There you go.
Awesome. I thank you so much for your transparency. But I am interested, if you don't mind. And I know you said
not at all.
Dated a lot, and that, you're 2 years post-divorce, and you've been doing a lot of work on yourself, which is, again, gold star for you for doing that.
Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome. However, do you find with the women that you have had a chance to meet and have conversations, or perhaps have lunch, dinner, or tea or coffee, or whatever you do when you meet someone, when they find out that you're a pastor, are you finding yourself in a situation where majority of the women that you are meeting are from the church or of the church, or are you finding women that are more so interested in getting to know you a little bit better? They don't necessarily have that fundamental nucleus in their lives with regards to the church. How is being a pastor and a man who's in his early 40s, single dad, but that, it's that additional layer of complexity as far as being a man of the cloth is concerned, and dating?
Well,
how's that working out for you?
There's definitely a fine line. When people hear pastor, okay, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he's going to be celibate until he gets married, he doesn't go to the club, he doesn't turn up, he doesn't do all of these things. I don't think I want to really deal with this guy, because though that looks good on paper, I can't fit the role. See, people have put in the mindset that a first lady has to wear a big hat, long dress, sit on the front row, all that. And then you have the other camp over here who says, okay, this man, he smokes, he drinks, he curses, he sleeps all over town. I'm just speaking in general. He gambles. He's not really a man of God. He's up there perpetrating. So it's like a fine line, like listen, we all have issues. We all go through the same thing: lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, the pride of life. And so one of the things I do sometimes, Rachel, when I go out, I will tell, I have no shame that I am a pastor, no shame in my faith, but I'll tell her before I order any food. I'll let her know I'm a pastor, and I'll kind of watch her body language and kind of see which way she's going. And if I sense that this is a one date situation, she'll order whatever, and I'll just get a salad or a little cup of soup or something, because there's no need in purchasing 2 big meals if I don't have to. I know. I know that
not investing 75% of the cupcake, right?
It's just no need to do that. But
right.
But to answer your question about, am I meeting ladies who are of the church or not of the church, I don't look at any of that. I have no bone in my body to say that she has to be a believer, because there's been times in my life I lost the faith. What kind of person is she? Is she a good person? Can I make you a better person? Can you make me a better person? Do you want to see me win? Do I want to see you win? Can we grow together into a kingdom relationship? But again, with all the dating sites and different ways to meet people, you can find the type of person that you're looking for. But what I found in life and just my studies is that oftentimes your higher power, whoever your higher power is, he will put someone in your path that did not fit the ideal norm of what you're looking for. All right. He put the right person's been in front of you this whole time, but you've overlooked because you're looking at quantity, the physiological structure. How does she look? How does he look? And you're missing the quality that's right in front of you. Now, I'm not saying go date anybody that you're not attracted to, but it's all about stepping back and having a healthy perspective. Is this person going to make me a better me, and vice versa?
Excellent.
So whether in the church, out of the church, that doesn't even cross my mind.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Different, and as a woman who was raised in the church, and hearing you as far as being a pastor is concerned, it's definitely different than what I would have expected. I think most of us would naturally expect a pastor to perhaps identify his future bride in the church. But being that you're so open-minded about it, and open just in general to what God has in store for you, and you're not putting any limitations, is definitely very admirable.
And didn't we all come from out of the church before we got in the church?
I mean,
so I can't look at someone
Yeah.
and say she has to be in the church when I came into the church. Everybody came, or whatever your particular, religious belief is. And the key again with me is, quality over quantity. And I don't judge.
Well, ladies, you heard it first.
And it's more, and I'll say this too, while we're at it, a lot of times it seems like people are addicted to they're drawn to the position and not the person. This ideal position. He's a barber, he's into acting, he's a pastor, has a talk show. All this stuff can become like an ideal fantasy to people. And not just my situation, any situation, but you want somebody who's into the person, who's not interested in all of what comes with you, but you as a person. And that's really hard to find. So I quit looking, Rachel. I'm just waiting to meet her, just waiting to run into her.
Waiting for her to slide into your, I'm just kidding.
Grocery store, great. Hey, fellas, a grocery store is a great place to meet ladies.
I tell ladies all the time, I say, you don't necessarily need to go out to meet a man while you're living your life. Just be open to the possibility of meeting someone just while you're living your life. And if that's the approach that you take, and just being open to the possibilities, just make sure that in the process of being open to the possibilities, you're allowing your best self to emerge. Because you're right, you can meet anyone, anywhere. You can meet someone at the gas station. You can meet someone at the grocery store. I have a very good friend of mine. She had been single for a long time, and she met her love at Whole Foods. And, when you told me the story, I was like, you're that quintessential, that example of you running into someone at the grocery store. She's got long, beautiful, natural hair. And he complimented her, and he said, "I love your hair." And she said, "Thank you." And struck up a conversation, and they've been together for years now. And so you don't necessarily need to go out to find someone. You just allow yourself to be open while you're living life. Just be open to the possibilities of meeting somebody who can perhaps be for you.
And don't ever tell yourself that you're not good enough for that person. Ladies, you may see a guy that fits your ideal. Guys, you may see a lady who fits your ideal. So in your mind, you're saying, I can't afford that person. Their lifestyle is more than what I can afford, or they already have somebody. But you would be surprised how many single people there are in this world hoping. Brothers, listen, all you have to do is go up and say, "Hello, my name is so-and-so. Hello, how are you doing?" You never know how many people are just waiting for you to step out and just say hello, and you would be surprised. I think there's 10 to 15 ladies to every man. So step out there and have confidence and introduce yourself, and you'll know early on if it's not a good fit, if you're having to force things to happen as opposed to it just happening naturally.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Say hello.
My husband walked up to me. He said, "Hi, my name is Johnny Davis."
And that was it. That was a wrap. Well, there
was a lot that happened in between, but for the most
Okay.
there was a no in there. And, but fate would have it that we would meet each other again a week later.
He that findeth.
He that, exactly.
He that findeth.
Exactly. Brandon, you have been an exceptional guest
Thank you,
on
Rachel.
the show today. Words cannot express my gratitude for you taking the time out of your extremely busy life to spend some time with myself as well as my guests for Demystifying Men. But it's important for me to allow our viewers an opportunity to learn how to get in contact with you, to learn where to purchase your books, and to also learn a little bit more about your television show and ways that they can stay in contact with you. So if you could, please just share with us how we can have our viewers stay in touch with you.
Thank you, Rachel. And you've been an excellent host. I'm just proud to watch you blossom. Season 1 was just wonderful. Season 2 is kicking off strong, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
And I wish even, higher heights for you. And thank you for having me. If you'd like to follow the talk show, it's called The Brandon Holt Show, and you can watch it every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube Live. And if you would, please subscribe to our page. Instagram, you can follow me personally at Brandon Holt SR, or at Brandon Holt Show. Also, we're on Facebook, the Brandon Holt Show, where you can watch all of the different episodes on there as well. If you'd like to secure a copy of the books, I encourage you to go to any of the major outlets, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, iTunes. They're all over the place. And just really grateful. If you would like to be on the show, or you have a great story, something that's impactful, please feel free to send me a DM, like Rachel said. Hit me in the DM. Or you can always email us at thebrandonholtshow@gmail.com. And it's been a pleasure, Rachel, being with you today. And I'll never forget this moment. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And this is definitely one of the interviews that's for the books.
Thank you, Rachel.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. This concludes this week's episode of Demystifying Men. Stay tuned till next week as we bring to you another amazing guest who is the epitome of king status, so that you're better equipped to learn and to understand men who have evolved into their highest level mature self in a beautiful way, what he looks like, what he thinks about, what his desires are, so that you can have all of the tools necessary to know that you've demystified men. So take care, take charge, God bless, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.
In the right place to move, in the right place for you.